Amazon Live. Welcome if you're joining me on Facebook. Welcome if you are joining me as well on YouTube. All right, so here we go. And welcome to streaming here. We're going to talk about return to play. This is going to be a fun one. So this is a book. I'm hearing it in my ear. So let me just back down on that. We're going to just do it this way. All right, how's that audio? Maybe. Okay, we're just going to close that off. All right, so it's a little too much in my ears. Oh yeah, much better with those. Okay, there we go. Is that working for you? Can you hear me? I want to make sure we're good here. All right. Today is my day to play. I've decided I'm going to play today. Which is hilarious. All right, so let me say hello. Hi, Jelani, hi. So nice to see you, Celestine. I'm still having a little bit of Jelani. All right, I'm just going to turn down that audio. There we go. That should do it. Okay, here comes Dallas. As usual, this is Dallas's time to come and play with me. All right, here we go. Come here. Come on. All right. Okay, let's get started. So that's enough playing for today. Um, the book I'm going to review for you today is called A Return to Play. Uh, love this book. I came across it because this morning I was thinking, you know what, this is what is this, February 23rd, 24th? I've been doing a book review a day every day since January 1st. Today, I pretty much just wanted to play. And so it dawned on me that there was a book that I came across in one of the online classes that I use as my muse. And it's called A Return to Play. And so I thought, oh, well, that's a perfect book to dive into today because that's what I'm going to do today is just do a lot of playing. So, Jelani, thank you. Thanks for clarifying. A beautiful name, by the way, Celestine. Really, really beautiful. Thank you for being here. So we're going to play. So what is this book about? First of all, let me give you some positioning on the author. And to do that, I pulled up her bio over here. So I want to just share it with you. Really, really cool. Make sure I have it. Oh, I might not have it right in front of me. Okay, so I'll look it up in just a moment. She is a teacher. She is a professor. She is somebody who has some amazing insight about how important it is for us to play. And she relates it right back to business, right back to the world that we live in day to day. And I really found it so insightful. So it is A Return to Play. I read it on the Kindle, which incidentally, I have to say is really cool. You can actually download your Kindle right onto your Kindle books, right onto your laptop if you want to read the Kindle that way, which I think is really cool. This afternoon, this morning, I was out reading it outside, which was really nice because it's hard to see my laptop outside. But last night, as I was going to sleep, I was doing a little reading that was on my laptop, and that was a little bit easier. So cool that you can go back and forth with your Kindle that way. So, the premise of this book is that we just don't play enough. We don't spend enough time playing. It has a beautiful, let me just see, I can highlight it for you here yeah, there you go. So you have the audio version, and then there it is in the book version highlighted. I think it's highlighted for you. Let me make sure. Do a little multitasking here, working on our tech. So there it is highlighted in the carousel if you're joining on Amazon Live. The artwork on it is this beautiful swing. And when I first saw that, I just thought, oh, it's just almost like this sort of happiness, playfulness comes over me when I saw it. Because when's the last time you got on a swing? And then when you open it up and you look, even just in the introduction, she talks you through this beautiful, beautiful visualization, if you will, of swinging and sitting on the swing when you're little, not being able to pull yourself up and you need help. And then she talks about how developmental it is for us to swing, right? Because first are going slowly. You're learning to trust yourself. You're getting your bearings. You're, kind of evening out a little bit. And then you get the courage to go a little bit higher. And then suddenly, as you are swinging, I was thinking particularly forward, but she doesn't describe it necessarily that way. As you're swinging, you start to view things differently, right? You start to use your cognitive abilities differently. And it was so insightful how play actually kind of changes the field of view, if you will, right? And in so many of these books that I've been reading since January 1st, I've been here every day at noon to do a book review on Facebook, on Amazon Live, as well as on YouTube, and just joining on YouTube last week. I just started that. And what I've been so curious about is that I see these threads that are tied together in so many of these books about the importance of play. Wayne Dyer talks about it. Gabby Bernstein talks about it. Just yesterday, Jen Sincero talks about it in You Are a Badass, about like, stop being like trying to be two places at once, right? Like when you're, I mean, Zig Ziglar talked about it back in the day, right? Like if you're going to be one place, then be there and do that. And if you're going to be another place, then be there and do that. But don't be half, wherever you are. And Jen Sincero, I actually printed it out and put it in my bathroom mirror, a quote from her book about don't, if you're somebody that puts off time and you are a procrastinator, then she says, then go play. Like set a clock when it's time to work and you know how long it's going to take you, then you just set that time and back into it that way, which I think is brilliant, right? Like why pretend, why feel guilty about playing when you think you should be working, and then when you're working wish that you were playing, right? Just it's so common sense that it's almost ridiculous that to say it out loud. but but it's true, and it needs to be said, I think. So I welcome your thoughts on this. Welcome. I'd love to know what you think about these concepts and ideas. All right. So I want to share with you a little bit of background on the author. I have not yet met her. I really would love to do a book review on interview with her about this book, because I just find it absolutely inspiring. So I'm using my Kindle, by the way, and I'm still getting a little bit used to it. But the cool part is I can pull up from here my chapters and review it that way, which is really cool. The various other books that I have in here. So Brandy Heather is her name. And I'm wondering if on the Kindle, if I can get her background information. I may just pull it up here on the in front of me. All right. So what I found so interesting about her work is that she has this really interesting lease on life, right? She is obviously well studied in what she does. She clearly has a um, great background in knowledge, and she shares it though in a way that is just fascinating. So again, can play be the answer to some of our more significant and complex social challenges? There's touches in the book on diversity and on um, solving dissension, if you will, building teams, that sort of thing. Really, really insightful. And play might be the most outstanding resume skills you're not including, she says in the description of this book. Um, I really enjoyed her. I just want to share with you a little bit more because she's so, yeah, there we go. She's an award-winning disability and inclusion educator and therapeutic play specialist for over 25 years. She began as a college and university professor in oh, I knew I loved her, kinesiology. Oh, love it. Can't live without my kinesiologist. If you're not familiar with kinesiology, it is, I may not be describing this properly, but it is a adjusting energy systems. Usually, most kinesiologists are also, I believe, um, uh, what do you call it? Um, chiropractors. Sorry, having a moment. But the energy work that they can do is just amazing as they reset through muscle testing and then adjustments, the work and how your body works and functions. I swear by it. I didn't realize she was in kinesiology. Adapted physical education for over 25 years. She achieved a certification in play therapy and advanced play therapy and uses those unique skills as her foundational kit for change. She founded Amped to Play Inc. in 2017 and serves as Chief Knowledge Officer, creating products and professional services. So really cool. Her bio is, in here, obviously, in the link on Amazon. Just really an interesting and insightful woman. So, as I dove into the book, again, the very beginning is such a beautiful description about sitting on a swing that I almost did this live from the playground. I thought I'm gonna just grab Dallas and we'll go to the playground. But then I realized the complexity of trying to like hold a phone into a video on a swing just might be, take the fun out of playing. But I think I'm going to do that after. And I would encourage you, I think that's the whole point of the book, is to go do it, whether it is swinging or doing something playful today, whatever that means to you. She has a beautiful description in the book of a group of people sort of standing in a circle, and somebody drops a rubber shark in the middle, kind of to symbolize a soccer ball. And some people start kicking around, and then some people are like, oh, I don't really want to do that. And it is a beautiful description of how the play that I might like might not be the play that you would like. The sport, like I love volleyball. And recently, Victoria and I have been bumping that volleyball around. Darren will come out there and play with us when he gets home. And I love it. I mean, there's nothing more gratifying to my day than to uh, bounce the volleyball around with my daughter. I waited for her for so long. I had her very late in life, and it was so lovely it's so lovely those moments that we get to do that. Anyway, my point is, in the book, she talks about that play is different for a lot of people, but having the levity to do it, the permission, it's like she gives you permission to go play, which I think is really, really exciting. So, my first highlights. So, you may or may not know, in the Kindle, you can actually do little printouts of your highlights or your notes, which I think is really cool because I'm thinking I'm going to migrate more and more to the Kindle because there's so much you can do to coordinate information and collaborate it all into one place, or collate it into one place. So she says it's like emotional oxygen. I love that. Play is like emotional oxygen. Isn't that awesome? She says play is where we learn that curiosity is discovery, and discovery can mean transformational change. Play has a lifetime effects on our physical, our cognitive, our social, emotional health and wellness. I love that. I want to say thank you, by the way. Jamie Little, welcome. And I think it's Al Akate. Welcome. Thank you for joining on Facebook Live. Really glad that you are here. And as we move forward, I love your ideas on this concept, right? Usually I'm doing book reviews that are more about business relations or, current books that are popular or things that are along motivation. And this book, I think, is definitely right on track with all of that, but just with an unsuspecting title, Return to Play, Rebuilding Resilience, Risk, and Reconnection. And it could be applied in the workplace, it could be applied in a family situation, in just so many different settings. So she goes on to say, can you imagine what happens when children are not faced with making their own decisions? So play as a metaphor for a life skill, if you will. She talks about, if they don't learn how to fall and get themselves back up, if they don't learn how to um, play, then how do they? Without adult intervention, then as they get older, then when we send them off to college or for a full-time job, then we wonder, okay, why are they struggling? And she says, and overwhelmed by something new and foreign to them. It's because we're always stepping in and saving instead of like letting them play, right, conceptually. And she says same thing can happen in the workplace when we don't give people the latitude and the levity to spread their wings a little bit, then they're super confined, right? And play can move us in that direction, if you will. She says, I believe we can build and rebuild our strengths in play at any age, but we need to start by removing the stigma of play as, get this, unproductive or frivolous. I think I have a new hero. And I think her name is Brandy. Brandy Heather. I mean, to think about, like literally remove the stigma of play as unproductive or frivolous. I mean, I don't know about you. That is so mind blowing to me. And it seems so simple, right? Like, why would that be so serious? But for somebody that is seriously a workaholic, and spent most of my life working, not having a kid till I was 38, not really playing until Darren came into my life about 7 years ago, 8 years ago, and I just now am finding a levity that is something I've waited for in my life. And now I'm 50. Like, I would love to proselytize this and give permission to people to play. I see younger people who, um, maybe spending time doing things that are other than work, but maybe not super fulfilling, like really playing and doing something that you love or that you really just enjoy doing immensely. And whether you're 20 or whether you're my age or whatever age, I think it's a beautiful thought for her to give us permission and realize that play can enhance our lives in so many other ways. So she says, what if you played when no one has an answer? What if when you get to that stuck point, what is it that Scott Peck says in The Road Less Traveled? That's when you know you need therapy, right? When you're stuck. Um, what if we turn to play in that time when no one has the answers? She says, play answers the question, what do we do when no one has the answer? You play. Love that. For those of us that are in transition, deciding what to do next, or staying at home more often than you want to, or homeschooling and not homeschooling, and back and forth, sometimes I feel like I am with Victoria, and moving into different facets of work and different energies and meeting new people online and doing classes online or doing challenges. I mean, this for me is my challenge, to show up every day at noon and do a book review. And today was the hardest day, and now has become pivotally, I've pivoted into it being an amazingly gratifying day for me, because I've dedicated myself to reading a book a day. As my accountability practice, I'm showing up here to give you a review of that book and hope that maybe it can help you in some way too, on Amazon Live and on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. And I'm doing that as a practice for building trust in myself, for kind of giving myself discipline, my discipline back. And and today I got to a standpoint where I'm like, I don't want to, I don't want to do this. I want to go do something else today. And I thought, how can I make it fun? And then I remembered this book that I had downloaded onto my Kindle, A Return to Play. And I thought, how beautiful is this, that it all just works out just like it's meant to be, right? I was having this resistance to it. I thought of Stephen Pressfield's, which I haven't reviewed his book in this space, but his War of Art. And I thought about that resistance. I'm having this resistance to something that I've committed to do. What can I do to pull in my discipline, meet my accountability, and show up and do it? And then this book, like, poof, like appeared. It's just a beautiful synchronicity. So again, it's about play, and even incorporating play into, our daily discipline, like what I'm working on doing right here. So anyway, I digress. So she goes on to say, play can help you explore your full potential. Play gives us perspective and experience. However, play is hard work for many people. We often have to climb over a mountain of guilt, judgment, shame, and long held beliefs about productivity and seriousness of work to even imagine it as a driver for change. But she says, but it can be your key to innovation by stepping back, sort of regrouping and resetting, if you will. And I love that. It's the product, she said, of creating a safe environment where people get to be who they are and do what they love without fear. That is powerful. Let me just say that one more time. It's the product, play is the product of creating a safe environment where people feel they can be who they are and do what they love without fear. Right? Isn't that a work environment you'd love to show up in every day? I love that. I absolutely love that. Do you know what happens to sharing and inclusion, she says, when people feel afraid of what will happen next, or something unexpected changes their way of living, or feeling vulnerable to loss or massive change? I think we all can sort of identify that with that, right? Especially in the last year that we've lived. She says sharing and inclusion don't flourish in that space when there's, kind of that fear. And yet she says, like, play can change the tone of it, can change the direction of it. You'll be surprised by the number of staff who will not include their boss in play because they worry about being seen as unprofessional, or judgment on performance, or saying or doing something wrong. So she talks about this in the, I think Dallas, this little hair is just calling me, in the workplace, how sometimes we can be excluding people because we're afraid of what they think, or that sort of thing. But imagine if there was just that levity, not all the time, but just imagine if, whenever you're stuck, whenever you need an answer, you could turn to play and let that be, whether it's, whatever, a card game, taking a walk, sitting on a swing, like she says, I love that. And letting that kind of change the energy. She says, going on, she talks about productivity and engagement. What's really important is that play takes the lead. So we reduce the fight or flight reactions to discussions about performance, productivity, engagement, and get to the very serious underlying issues. So I love this, that it kind of adds, again, that levity. That's the word that keeps coming up for me. She says, if I'm an organization funded by a government body and my organization's long-term future is being threatened by budget cuts, then I have a choice. I can worry that my organization will face enormous change and hardship, pass that fear along to the managers, and then tell them to tighten their belts, and then that measures on to every one of their movements, and then tell them that their jobs and their security are at risk, and then they transfer it to the frontline staff, and then suddenly now everybody's like walking around looking for ways to cut corners or to shine brighter so that they can kind of be picked for the team. And I love how she likens this to business situations. She says, not everyone is trying to find ways to work harder and longer for less. She says, with less. And in that process, we compromise trust, honesty, and integrity. Certainly, this changes the way we include or make room for innovation. It changes our perspective and narrows our choices. The other choice is this: we can step in with the necessary skills to recognize those natural reactions to fear and the unknown. We can choose to build a bridge before it's broken and divided. I love that. What about building those bridges? We can ensure our first response is based on sharing who we are and in the interests that make us whole rather than protection of ourselves and our ego. It's about vulnerability. It's risky, but it works, she says. I suggest that play builds psychological safety. Love that. That play reveals to us a personal connection that reminds us this person has beliefs, perspectives, opinions just like me, maybe different than me. My words, not hers. She says, this person hopes and has anxieties and vulnerabilities like me. This person has friends and family and perhaps children who love them. And this person wants to feel respected and appreciated and competent. And how, again, she relates that to play can create those connections. I love that. We've lost our sandbox skills: negotiation, conflict management, adaptability, and innovation. I love that. And then she goes on to say, do you remember when you introduced yourself at a sandbox or at a playground? I'm like, well, that's an interesting question I hadn't considered. And then she goes on to say, it's because you don't. You just jump in and start playing together. You don't have to really tell anybody, your name, your background, your age, your, whatever baggage. You just, you just go there and hang out. kind of side by side and do your thing. I thought that was really insightful. How great would it be if we could get to, pull back to that sort of simplicity, if you will. So again, if you're just joining, I want to say hello. If you're joining us on Facebook Live, super glad that you are here. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here on Amazon Live as well. Uh, I love being able to be here with you, and I've highlighted this for you. You can do the Audible version, or excuse me, the Kindle version, or the paperback. I did the Kindle version on this one, and I'll put it into the comments on Facebook and on YouTube as well. So if this is inspiring you and you want to read more about play, usually I'm, reviewing business or some kind of motivation related books, but this one was what I felt like I needed today, and hopefully it's inspiring you in some way as well. She says, we need help building skills for navigating and celebrating the new and the unknown. Wow, is that ever true, right? What we have is the inability to communicate authentically about our reaction to what's new, diverse, and different from our lens, our reality, our experience. And what's worse is we're slowly structuring this out of kids. Really interesting. She said we're organizing play out of children. Um, really interesting concept. I believe if we can rebuild unstructured play, so it's unstructured, right? As a fundamental aspect of childhood, we can address some of the most vital underlying challenges of inclusion today. How cool is this? Fear of difference, fear of standing out, fear of not standing out, fear of what we don't know, fear of what we can't see, fear of what we don't understand, fear of not knowing, fear of knowing. She's positing the option that fear could help change the dynamic of all of that, not only in adults, but even as children. I love this, that play could be the solution, if you will. And she doesn't really define in great detail play. Again, she leaves it as unstructured. She said, what if I told you there was no finish line and there was no perfect answer? We are all going to get it wrong. And as with any good strategy, we are going to keep what's working, and we continue to evolve alongside an ever-changing and yes, diverse world we live in. So I just printed my notes from the Kindle, the highlights that I took from this book, of Return to Play. She says we need to step back and realize that we need more diverse experiences and exposure to new and diverse people and things. If we don't, we will all continue down this sort of greater path um, of the same, or fear, or non-diversity, if you will. She says it's time to rethink our bridges. How will we build resilience and coping if we don't invite difference into our systems? We are diverse, she says. So let's build skills, not reports. Love that idea, right? Build skills, not reports, because one is about the future and one is about the past, right? Reports are always looking back, but building skills, you are moving forward, right? I love that. Um, she says, including managing natural reactions to change and fear. When we do this, then we'll have something solid to build on. And as a college professor, she goes on to share her stories there. She said, will we ever build resilience and coping if we don't invite difference in our systems? Again, when people feel empowered to grow and do one's best work, she said she feels that's the direction she's encouraging us to move in. Clearly, these elements are critical for diversity of thinking to emerge. She said, if you spend all your time focused on what people can't do, then you'll miss their greatest strengths, right? Love that. Like stepping back to even Marcus Buckingham, oh my gosh, from how long ago, right? Play to your strengths, and again, don't focus so much on the can'ts and what you don't do well, but play to your strengths. That was a great book. Wow. Flashback there. I was thinking of different threads of how this kind of weaves together. She says, Generation Play. I love this. Let me read this to you. Permission to play again. To watch her play is mesmerizing. The steady flow of her hands in the dirt, how she touches everything with care and a reverence for its worth holds my gaze. Everything surrounding her is growing and changing. She sits in what looks like an uncomfortable position until you realize it's the way she can access the greatest number of items at one time and still stay in balance. Captured by the smell of the grass and the dirt under her nails, she spends timeless hours dedicated to what would seem to some an endless task. This is her play. She's lost in it, and it is occasionally heard singing or humming while she works. This is my mother's garden. It's where she disappears beyond time or pain or the weight she carries for herself and others. And she goes on. I would encourage you to um, purchase the book and see where that excerpt leads because it is beautiful, absolutely beautiful. With that said, I am going to maintain some timing here and leave you with that in mind. That play really could be a great answer, particularly um, just when you need it, you know, that it is, you have the permission. That Brandy Heather has given us the permission. If you need another dose of it, I'll give you the permission to just go play. And then, as Jen Sincero said, in You Are a Badass, well then, okay, back time, it is what needs to get done. And when you're playing, play. And then when it's time to hit the ground running to get on to the next project, then do that. So, with that said, I hope you enjoy this book. It is Return to Play by Brandy Heather. I'll make it available for you in the comment section on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. And right now, it is available for you in the carousel if you're joining on Amazon Live. I also picked it up on my Kindle, so I'm highlighting that for you in the Amazon Live feed as well. And then the other books that are here in the carousel on Amazon Live are books that I have previously reviewed, and the videos are available for you as well. So if you want inspirational reading, come hang out with me for a while. You want moments of motivation, I'm here every day at noon with a new motivational book review, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place. And thank